All right, ChargeWay Podcast, we are back, and we're in a very unique setting. This is the first time ever we are out the back in the Charge backyard with two chargers. The 7 a.m. class is currently going on. We've already been given a lot of shit, and we haven't even really started the podcast, and I've just sworn, so that's not a great start. But welcome. I'm joined by Tim and Dunk, and we're going to have a really good chat about, I guess, what the affiliate can mean for people in the space of mental health. And these gents have got some good experience with footy clubs and what footy clubs have done for people in that space. So we're going to riff a little bit and let you know our thoughts. Before we go any further, I'm going to introduce our guests that have been kind enough to join us. 10-year plus member, king of the bench press, and also footy extraordinaire, and I'll get him to talk you through his experience. Dunk, welcome to the ChargeWay Podcast.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Tim. My name's Duncan. I've been here at Charge for a bit over 10 years now, and I've also played footy since I was about 5, so I've got a bit of experience there as well. Still playing footy down at the Brunswick Mudlarks. Anyone who's free Wednesday nights and Sunday afternoons.
I knew we'd get the recruiting drive at some stage.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, mate. Tim, not a 10-year charger, although it definitely feels like it at times. Also some good experience in competing in CrossFit, competing in footy, and one of those blokes that is around the affiliate environment a lot. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Good to be with you, fellas. Thanks for having me. Coming up in 8 years CrossFit,
Love
but
it.
not all at Charge, so it's great to have landed here. Really enjoying my time, and on and off footy dilettante over, I don't know if I've been playing since 5, but certainly
Footy in hand since 5.
in and out of footy clubs over most of my teen and adult life. And just to get us into the mood for this particular podcast, I don't know if you guys know this, recent-ish graduate of an a graduate diploma in psychology.
Oh, wow.
Perfect.
So it's something that I'm really passionate about. It's a career I'm hoping to get into in the not too distant future, and something I'm super keen to chat to you boys about today.
Awesome. I did know you were studying that. I didn't realise you'd finished, so congratulations. That's awesome. All right, well, let me set the scene. I suppose I want to start by acknowledging, and not everyone will know this because not everyone follows AFL footy, but over the last month, there's been some pretty tragic events within the AFL world where some past players have tragically passed away. One of them, I believe, it's a fact that they unfortunately took their own life, and the other one was certainly had their own personal struggles with addiction. And I suppose I spoke to both you boys sort of just informally about the challenges we know that post-footy life can provide for people because they've got the support structure of the club, and then that club disappears on them. I mean, not necessarily completely disappears, but it's not the same if you've been at the club every day and then you're not there. And I guess the goal of this podcast was to somewhat compare the footy club environment to the CrossFit affiliate as a support structure for mental health. And I think, look, let's start with the footy club and we can work from there. But Dunk, the footy club provides, I guess, a unique culture of things like mateship and belonging, and brings people into a sense of tradition. Has that been something that you've noticed in your time with footy clubs?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the perfect environment to just do that thing that you love. And so whether it's training or it's match day, there's no space for anything else to come in. And so I think that's why people gravitate towards footy. And as when you're younger, it's about mateship and things. But I think as we get older, it's more about that break from the outside world.
Yeah.
Still get all that mateship piece, but it's a real opportunity for you to get in and do something and just completely focus and have a lot of fun for that hour, an hour and a half, whatever it is, and separate yourself from everything else, but also really enjoy the company of other people in an environment that's really healthy.
I remember, I think it was Dustin Martin said after he won his first Brownlow, something about like when he's out there, everything else switches off. It's just him, and we sort of say see ball, get ball, but that's all that matters to him. And that's
there's no room for it. Like, you're just so focused. Like your energy levels are up, and you're just so hungry. And especially some of us are getting a bit older. Like, it actually that energy level and that excitement level and that joy. You have that's something that you kind of had when you're a kid.
Yep.
To get it when you're a little bit older, getting into your late 20s like we are, it it's a really awesome feeling. And so I think there's a little bit of a pull back to that as well. Like
Sure.
It's kind of addictive, that feeling of, oh wow, this is so much fun. Like, can't believe we're still doing this.
Tim, I want to flip to the CrossFit affiliate soon, but anything to add, I guess, about that footy club environment and what that adds?
Yeah, I want to unpack a little bit because coming on this podcast and, I like to mull these things over anyway. What is it about footy clubs that make them particularly good third spaces, as we call them? And why third space? I mean, we've got home, we've got work. Most people have those in their life.
Yep.
What I think we're seeing in modern life is a dwindling options and less people engaged in third spaces. And I think footy clubs are a particularly good one for a few reasons. One, we're social creatures and they're inherently social places. Even just the way you play football and you train for it involves communicating. It's a large group, so you're automatically getting a larger network than you might even through other sports. You need to train for it. It's not like some other sports where you can just play, show up on a weeknight.
Sure.
Or you could do that, but as Dunk can attest, it's risky business.
Some people definitely do that.
And then I think the other thing about footy is it's active, and that's really good for our brains, as we know, as opposed to more sedentary activities. And that is another reason why they're really great environments. And the counterintuitive one I want to throw in there is I actually think the fact that these are typically single-sex environments can actually be a real plus. And we hear a lot about toxic masculinity, as we should, in 2025. But when done right, I think footy clubs provide, through the single gender, for both men and women, an opportunity to safely explore feelings and maybe raise issues that they possibly wouldn't when you have that mixed gender lens over it. So I'm just throwing that out there, and I think that
really
might potentially be a good segue into the CrossFit environment, Ed. But, but I'll let you host.
No. That's great. I mean, I'm happy for you to host, by the way.
Sure.
I was about to say that basically everything you've both said about the footy club and its positives, like you could say those exact things about the CrossFit affiliate environment. The single gender thing throws it off a little bit, but it's a really interesting observation. And we know, obviously, we've both been involved in men and women's footy. Like it's the same deal. It's not exclusively a male thing. So let's move on to the CrossFit affiliate, I suppose. And Dunk, I mean, you articulated it really well. There's this space where you get to focus on just that thing. I feel like for a lot of people that would resonate. That's what the 1 hour at CrossFit does for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And picking up on Tim's the third space thing, well done. All that schooling wasn't for nothing.
Yeah, that's impressive. I'm a little bit intimidated, I'll be honest.
I learn at uni.
I'm secretly
throw some jargon out
Googling
there.
something I need to sort of lift my game. But it's true. So you can have, if you talk about those three spaces, you could be having, home life might not be going the way you'd planned it to go. Work's busting your balls. Mm-hmm. You get to come into CrossFit, and you know what? You can compartmentalise and say, right, well, you know what? I'm going to PB my back squat today, or I'm going to go in there. I'm going to learn how to do a handstand today, and you can achieve those things, and that can be, because it's about celebrating the wins. Yep. And so here's a space where you can celebrate some wins in an environment that allows you to do that without having to worry about those other two things. And it's only an hour. It's not like you're completely saying, I'm moving away, I'm not going to focus on those things. It's just a little hour where you get to focus and achieve these things and celebrate the wins as well, and celebrate with other people, celebrate their wins. So I think that's a really healthy...
Yeah.
Add on that, Tim?
Yeah. So I think it's same but different, right? Footy and CrossFit, a lot of overlap.
Yep.
I love the fact that we get to come here every day. There are different classes, so it's easier to get to from a practical point of view, but you also meet a bigger group of people.
Sure.
Your network grows when you come into a place like this, and I think that can be intimidating for people, and that's okay, and it attracts people who I think are ready for that experience. But one of the things I wanted to reflect on about CrossFit is how often I hear people coming into it at a time of need or a time of vulnerability or change in their life. And that's been a really consistent theme, not for everybody, of course, but I do feel like for a lot of CrossFitters, quite aside from the fitness goals and everything, they do end up coming here at a time when they need something more in their life. And that's how I came into it nearly 8 years ago. And I think it makes it extra special. And that doesn't, necessarily separate it from a footy club. I think there's people who, join footy for the same reasons.
Yeah.
But it's just one thing I wanted to throw out there is just because it struck me anecdotally how many people have come to CrossFit in a time of need.
Yep. You're spot on, mate. And I say that purely from a fact of, look, when I started as a trainer, obviously the thing that drew me to CrossFit was like the extreme physical prowess that people show here. But as I've matured, you realise that it is that third space for people. And like one of the things that we're immensely proud of is that we know Charge provides that for people. But when people contact us and reach out and they show some interest in joining, I now listen for those things that you're sort of mentioning. Like I get less people telling me I want to back squat 100 kilos and more people saying, work's just been really busy and I just need something. Like they sort of use those words. Dunk, I wanted to, and I hope you don't mind sharing a bit of this, but I know recently at footy training you were telling me after the tragic events in the AFL, one of the leaders at the club sort of spoke to the group and just created some space for people to talk about mental health. And I wonder if you could share a bit of that story, and then I guess we could talk about how does that, like Tim, in your eyes with your expertise, how could that exist in the affiliate? But Dunk, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so I mean we're a mature age club.
Yep.
So we find we've got a lot of guys who, for the same reasons you spoke about, people coming to CrossFit, they're coming to footy looking for that thing that's going to kind of spark them up again. So we know within the club there's a handful of guys that are, the club they're really holding on tight to the club.
Yep.
And so everyone's aware of that. And yeah, last week or the week before, one of our kind of leaders sort of, instead of finishing training with goal kicking drills, he said, "Look guys, it's been a tough week, men's mental health is front and centre. Let's just do a lap. We all just walk around arm in arm, do a lap and just have a chat to the bloke next to you, check in, how's he going? Just have a conversation, how's your week been?"
Yep.
Just to sort of help guys understand that, it's not all just about footy. Like, we're all here as mates. And I think, you and I spoke about that the next day. Like, it was a pretty powerful thing.
Super powerful.
And we're a grassroots, like absolute grassroots footy club.
Yeah.
And for guys to do that, I think it shows that, the culture in footy clubs has changed a lot. And especially at this age group where it's really important, guys in that demographic of those AFL players that we just spoke about.
Yep.
We're talking about guys that are even kind of moved through that and have probably got even bigger challenges.
Sure.
At that time of their lives, so it's a real good grounding space.
I feel like you boys have probably had more senior experience than I did at footy clubs, but even 10, 15 years ago, I can't imagine that happening at many footy clubs. So it's a space that's come a long way for footy clubs.
I think it involves taking a more expansive view of leadership, and that's such a beautiful example of it. And I think having a third space is a great start, right?
Sure.
And for a lot of people, that's enough to come in and just be part of an environment. For a whole heap more, it's about coming into the right space and connecting and feeling enabled to go a bit deeper.
Sure.
It's safe.
To feel safe. And to use Charge as an example, or CrossFit, that starts from an affiliate owner and a coach level. What are we trying to create with this space? And some gyms and footy clubs choose to go for high performance and they go for the wins. And that's okay, and that will attract a certain kind of people. But when we're talking mental health, I think there are things you can do to make it not just a third space, but the right kind of third space for people who are coming in here looking to change their life, not just through getting fit, but probably more through engaging and feeling a part of a community. And I love the fact that we do that here, and it's really practical things like maybe not having a leaderboard of the fastest times in the gym, but creating community engagement through pride events or competitions and these sort of things that are designed. They're not really about competing, are they, guys? Let's maybe let a secret out of the box. They're about bringing the community together, afternoons, mornings, people that wouldn't normally
it's all rigged anyway. I've been rigging Clab for the last 7 years, you know?
It's a bit obvious, I hate to say. But that's what makes this place special. That's what makes the Mudlark special, because they're not actually really about the footy and the CrossFit. They're actually about something bigger. And that leadership permeates, because when you lead from the top, you attract people who demonstrate leadership in their own way through their vulnerability, through their willingness to talk about what's going on for them.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of leadership as well, being real, not being afraid to bring your authentic self into that space. Because when you do that, it opens up opportunities for other people who maybe don't feel as confident to also have those conversations. And that is literally what happens here every day, and why I find Charge particularly special as a space, because people, lifelong friends of mine, we talk about real things.
Yeah. I'm conscious of, for a lot of people, I think they're potentially listening to this and a huge amount would be resonating for them, and they might be sort of thinking like, what are the actions that I should take here? And perhaps that's the wrong question. Perhaps there are no actions to take, and it's just about, perhaps just contemplating where things sit for you and what perhaps a space like the affiliate or your local footy club, and let's be real, it doesn't need to be a footy club or the affiliate. There's plenty of other places that provide this type of thing. So what can people do, and this is a bit without notice, sorry, so I don't want to put it on the spot, but to get the most out of these environments, what's some practical advice do you think people can do so that they're getting what they need?
I think it's engaging with the membership cohort. So, get around, talk to people, explore both sides of the gym.
Yeah.
That's a bit of an in-house joke, but you've got to actually, train with some different people, maybe come to some morning classes, come to some evening classes.
Yep.
So get to know the people within the gym.
Yep.
And just explore that social group, because, you'll find that everyone's a little bit different, but everyone's got that singular connection as well. So you're never going to run out of things to talk about with people in here.
Love that.
Yeah, I was going to make exactly the same point, Ed. I think stick around for a coffee afterwards. Get to know names of people, like be proactive. It's one thing to be in one of these third spaces, but enmesh yourself, like give yourself over to it. Do more of it. That doesn't necessarily even mean in a time sense. We're all busy. Yeah. That's in terms of how you engage, the mentality you bring going in. If I learn someone else's name, then they're going to know my name. And all of a sudden, that's a new connection, even within a familiar space. And that's not easy to do, and you don't have to put pressure on yourself every day.
Yeah.
I certainly don't feel like learning new names every day.
Yep.
But, once a week, once a fortnight, I'll just check in with a coach and ask, who's that?
Yep.
And then maybe only 50% of those names stick, because a lot of people here. But that's one tip I've got. And then, no surprises here, but just getting around and connecting with everyone. I try to do that at the end of a workout through a fist bump or a little comment. And I get so much out of that personally, but I'm also giving something, and that makes me feel better, but also hopefully is less scary, because I'm pretty sweaty at that point, and more welcome, by the classmates around me.
This is nice. Boys, this is a topic with some serious depth and breadth to it, but I feel like we've done a nice job. Hopefully, like the point of this podcast really was to, I guess, for our listeners, to have them feel comfortable if they want to talk about it to anyone in the gym, be it us or be it some other members, and certainly feel like what we've discussed will do that. But any final thoughts before we truck on?
Yeah, explore. Like, just if you want to find that extra space, just get out there and find it. Like, don't hold back. Like, there is the people within those spaces. Like, if we get new members come into CrossFit, like, we celebrate new members.
Absolutely.
Like, someone new comes in, we're like, high five, welcome to CrossFit. Same with any sporting club that you come into. They're going to welcome you in, so don't ever be afraid to take that leap. and it will be so rewarding. Like no one's ever joined a footy club or a CrossFit and said, "Oh, I wish I'd never done that." Like, it's super rewarding, and just do it. Like, get out there and explore.
Love it.
I think mine is, I'm talking in theory today, and I've really enjoyed the conversation, but also I'm someone who experiences, dips in my mental health, and I've been really open about that with you guys, and I just want to leave people with that, because I think sometimes you're listening to something like this, and it's like, a whole bunch of people talking about what's happening to others.
Sure.
What would they know? Well, no, this is lived experience for me, and every, week to week, I'll bring different mental health, like many people, to the gym, and I just want to leave on that note, is this isn't, an us and them, it's all of us together, and some people's struggles are more than others, but everyone can relate to this and needs a community in their life.
That's a great point, and perhaps I've sort of played host a little bit here, and all I can do maybe to finish on a little bit of my own self-reflection is I've now dedicated the vast majority of my life to CrossFit as a physical training program, and I'd like to think that I'm pretty well versed in the different things required to make people move well and grain fitness and whatnot, and I am convinced for myself now that I train for the most part for my mental health. And I think a lot of people do that as well. Don't get me wrong, don't mind benching and having some big biceps, but for the most part, I think I come in here because I feel like a happier person at the end of being here. So, gents, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for being on the ChargeWay Podcast.
Thanks for having us, Ed.
Cheers.
Nice one, boys.